Welcome to the Note Nuggets podcast, where you can learn how to become the bank, build wealth, and accumulate streams of income perfect for your savings or IRAs. You'll hear from industry experts, seasoned veterans, and everyday investors. Our goal is to teach you how to invest in notes, one nugget of knowledge at a time. Here's your host, Kevin Galang.
Welcome to another episode of the Note Nuggets podcast, where you can learn how to turn other people's debt into income for your IRA or savings. Today's Note Nugget is all about risk and the risk of buying notes. First of all, every investment has risk, so let's just put that out there already. Of course, some assets are riskier than others. This, of course, applies to notes. As you may guess, some notes are riskier than others. For example, a non-performing note is riskier than a performing note because in a non-performing note, the borrower currently is not paying and hasn't been paying for some time. That might be 6 months, that might be 3 years. It really depends on what you see within the due diligence. Another example would be how a second position note offers less protection as compared to a first position note. Thus, some would say it's riskier. And risk profiles differ between investors. So understanding your risk profile is important to your success as an investor. When we're talking about risk, we know that the greatest risk is that you could lose your entire investment. But that comes with the territory of being an investor in general. With note investing, there are legal risks associated with being a note investor because you're dealing with debt. And our guest, who is not an attorney, nor does he claim to be an attorney, is an experienced note investor who educates us on the risky business of note investing. As always, let's first learn about our guest. Kevin Shortell has over 3 decades of real estate experience in both the real property and the paper side of things. He has purchased, renovated, and resold over 150 properties and transacted over $30 million in private note sales. Kevin is also known in the industry as the trainer's trainer. Don't forget to check out Kevin's podcast at kevinshortell.com to learn up-to-date news on the real estate industry that is sure to help you on your investing journey.
And there's really what I call 3 different funnels in the business. And mom and pop notes are just one of them. And it is a segment, by the way, that is coming back because everybody's ignored it. And so it's a great place, especially for beginners and such, to get rolling on that. So the changes have been absolutely crazy. Inventory levels still, although they're not at record highs anymore, are still just massive.
Okay, so to break that down, what you just said, between mom and pop versus institutional, an institutional note would be something like a Wells Fargo originating the note at a fixed interest rate. And a mom and pop would be, let's say I owned a few properties that I wanted to sell, but I wanted that monthly cash flow. So I'll just do a seller carryback note, owner financing, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then those notes get sold. Is that a correct summation?
Yeah, it is. And there's really, the way I break it down, 3 different funnels, as I said. And most investors who focus on notes full time will want to tap into all 3 of those, where a beginner or somebody who's adding this to the regular real estate investing might just go down one funnel, and then start to build upon that. So yes, you're right. A lot of these notes are starting from bank originations, and then they're sold in bundles to big equity firms, and then the equity firms keep what they want, and then they sell off the rest. So that's one. The second one, as you said, yes, mom and pop notes. I mean, let's face it, just statistically, the baby boomers are inheriting more wealth than any time in the history of the world. And most of that wealth is in the form of real estate, but it's oftentimes real estate that people don't want. The kids have moved on, the parents now or grandparents have passed away, the house is outdated, now they have to pay property taxes or might be liens on the property, there's upkeep, and what people think might be a windfall all of a sudden becomes an expense. And they want to turn around and sell it, and they want to sell it as is. And the best way to do that is through seller financing. So that would fall under that category of mom and pop notes. The third one, though, is you have professional investors that are creating their own seller finance notes. And this could be as small as one person like yourself, or it could be a company that's done a private placement and raised $20 million. And they go out and buy properties either in bulk or individual properties. They fix them up and then they sell them. But a lot of those properties are in what we call lower price band. And banks are not really doing loans to a large degree in properties that are worth less than $100,000. So you have these professional investors and investment companies that are creating their own notes, and eventually they'll want to cash out of those notes. And that's another great funnel, if you will, to look at. So inventory is readily bigger and much, much, much bigger than foreclosures and pre-foreclosures and probates and all those things today.
Kevin does a great job of breaking down how it can be risky to invest in notes if you don't know what you're doing and don't know what to look for. What's great about the note investing space is how much people are willing to help each other out. If you need help looking over your collateral or due diligence files, feel free to email me at kevin@notenuggets.com. For full access to my interview with Kevin Shortell, head over to notenuggets.com/risk.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Note Nuggets podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get access to additional weekly value nuggets and get notified with episode updates. To subscribe, all you have to do is head over to subscribe.notenuggets.com. If you have any questions about this episode or note investing, book a time on Kevin's calendar at contact.notenuggets.com. We'll see you next week with another note nugget to add to your tool belt.